I cracked open this brown egg. These may be slightly overdue, but not that overdue. It has a greenish tinge to the egg white. So I don't know if I should throw this egg out or eat it. I hate to waste food. The yolk looks pert. If the yolk is flat, and that's a sign of a stale egg. If the yolk is standing nice and pert, that's a sign of a good egg. If the white is foggy, that's a sign of a bad egg. This white is clear, but greenish. I don't know what to do with this egg. I hate to waste it. If this is the last video I ever make, you know what happened to me. So I cracked open an egg from actually the same source, Colburn Farms, I think. No, the other ones are Rose Acres. Vegetarian fed. Maybe vegetarian fed. Maybe there's just more. I'm not sure if I should trust them or not. I cracked another egg though. That wasn't. Oh, these Rose Farms are the ones that are the white eggs. I cracked one of those open, and it doesn't have that greenish tinge. I cracked open another one of the brown eggs. It does have a greenish tinge. Well, maybe not quite as intense as the last one. And even cooked up, it looks greenish. I guess I'm not going to eat them. I hate to waste. I guess I'm going to cook the other green egg and throw them outside for the critters, I guess. They're probably perfectly good. I hate to waste food. You can't really see the greenish from... Now, I was wondering if it was just a trick of the light, because I got a CFL bulb here, but this other egg is nowhere near as greenish as these guys were. Any comments? I kind of wonder. I'm assuming actually these eggs are probably perfectly good. I usually go for it, but I might not. The green egg I fried up. I let it sit too long and it's like overdone, so I'm not eating the whole thing, of course. I ate a tail of it though, just to see. There's no funky taste, no funky smell. I don't think there's anything wrong with these eggs. The second one I cracked open, which was also greenish inside, I put in my batter here, along with that clear egg that wasn't greenish. They're both natural eggs though. I think it's just the uber natural, maybe a little more chlorophyll. I don't know. We'll see. I doubt it's like a bacteria. I don't see the egg, stinking. Still pert, when they're cracked. They're still clear. There's no fogginess to them. Actually, that egg that wasn't greenish was slightly foggy. A couple weeks newer eggs. These are about a month old, though, these green eggs. This batter is for something called Schmauda. I've initiated a few of my friends into the Schmauda cult, but it's a pretty unusual dish. It's kind of in the realm of pancakes or waffles or whatever, though. It's not leavened. It's just a full recipe for 2 people would be 3 eggs, a quarter cup of sugar. I'm trying to think of the classical recipe here. Quarter teaspoon of salt, and 2 cups of flour, 1.5 cups of milk. Because you do the eggs and the sugar together first, whip them together, and then add the rest of the ingredients, I guess. And then the classic way to cook it was in a fry pan, like a 1/2 inch of shortening in the melted into the bottom. And it came out really nice that way, but to be a little more healthy these days, I just use the vegetable oil a little more sparingly. Once in a while I add things to my Schmauda. It's something I haven't done in a long time, but since I've already got a greenish tinge going, I'm going to add a little bit of spirulina powder. Make it really green. Don't add too much. Gives it a funky taste if you add too much. Don't really notice it if you only add a little. Greenish. I'm afraid the color balance of this camera is not going to really show the greenish. I didn't make it really intensely green. I don't want it to affect the taste. I'll have to remember this for St. Patrick's Day. So I've poured some oil in the pan. I've let it warm a bit. I don't want to let it overheat or smoke, especially since I'm using olive oil at present here. I'd let corn oil get a little bit hotter if I was using corn oil. If you use shortening in the classic way, is a half cup of shortening in the pan, and it would make some real nice crispy edges as you poured the batter in slowly. And you kind of lose that in the name of health, I guess. By not doing the high temperature thing. I should let it get a little hotter, even if it is olive. But basically, pour all the batter in. This is a nice big wide pan, which is kind of a cheat. Makes cooking it a lot faster. So you pour all the batter in, especially a full recipe in a smaller cast iron pan. It can take quite a bit of time to cook. Well, the more care and effort you put into it, the better it turns out, I guess, but I kind of take a few shortcuts here. Rest of the batter out. And I'm going to let it cook slightly for a little bit, and I'll be right back after that, because I add a couple things while it's still kind of half congealing, and that's just not part of the recipe, it's just my own additions. I didn't intend to film this, so I didn't clean up at all. Excuse my dirty work area here. But to make this schmauda even more unconventional, I'm gonna, I wish I had cinnamon, this is 5 spices, but just a touch of this on. If it was plain cinnamon, I'd use more. I also put a touch of, curry powder on, just a touch. I don't really want to taste it too much, I just want to add a little texture to my flavors. Nice moochy Indian curry inside there, organic. It's not what's on the label. Oops. And then I try to get, when it's just starting to skin over, I'm a little early, but I'm afraid if I wait I'll be too late. And I hit it with a lot of sesame seed. Give me a little fiber, because it's kind of a fiber challenge dish otherwise. Also, sometimes I use unbleached flour usually, and up north where I've got that Red Barn, or whatever that company is, I've got some of their unbleached whole wheat flour. It's pretty finely milled though, so it's not too nasty, and I add like half of that and half white flour. So I get a little more fiber into it that way too sometimes. Then just let it sit here for a little longer before I do anything else to it. I want it to totally skin over and kind of harden up. And I'm going to flip the whole thing like a big pancake. I'm just going to let it sit at the temperature it's on. I'm just slightly over medium, but I got a huge pan here, so it takes a little extra heat. So I just flapped the whole thing like a big giant pancake. I don't know if I caught that or not. I think it wasn't recording. It was puffed up like a big mound. When I took the lid off, it kind of deflated when I took the lid off. Then I flipped it. I let the other side brown a little bit, maybe not quite as much as this. This is a little excessive in the middle there. Let it brown a little the other side, then I'll start breaking it up. I'll chop it in half, fold that other half over and quarter it, and just keep chopping it up. And the final product will be a chopped up product. That'll be hopefully thoroughly cooked. Look at all that sesame seed. That's how I like it. It's not a very conventional way to do schmauda. A good conventional way is just a plain recipe with all my added accompaniments, and then Oh, I'd always eat it with honey and milk. A little bit healthier to have it with cherries. My cousin always has it with cherries, and he uses less sugar when he cooks it. I usually cut the salt way down. I usually cut the sugar down a little bit. I use enough sugar to help me beat my eggs up, because the sugar does help. When you mix the egg and sugar together, the sugar helps tear the eggs up. Grinding powder. I'll just keep at this and I'll let it sit for a while, and I'll come back to it and do the same thing. Green Schmauda.